for the bumper-to-bumper award-winning NFL prediction segment on The Fan. Brought to you by Continental Diamond. Now, to help you break down this week's games, here's your favorite NFL wonk, Dan Barrero.
Yada, what do you got? Hello?
Hello?
Yada, what do you got?
Are you on drugs?
No. Are you familiar with
What are you doing? Why are you? What does that mean?
Are you familiar with the Paul Allen Project?
Yeah, Wayne Larrivee was on his show today. Made the show like 9,000% better.
What did Wayne have to say?
Well, first of all, Dan, you can go back. I guess you guys make these podcasts.
Oh.
So you could probably listen to it if you wanted to.
All right.
And I would suggest doing that.
I'd rather you distill it for me as only you can do.
Well, first of all, he just told everybody how good the Packers were.
No.
And, you know,
doesn't take much.
We are the very, very young team.
Oh, my God. Here we go again. The youth nonsense.
We are. Yeah. And we're not going to put up with any kind of excuses about injuries. You know, we're not going to do that. Because we're injured, too.
But you're injured. You're not injured like they are. They got like 11 people out.
Oh, yeah. We got good players who are out.
Oh, come on.
We got guys who are good.
Well, then do you get to use youth as an excuse? Why do you get to invoke that one? All an excuse, too.
No, it's a fact of life.
Well, so are the Lions' injuries.
Oh, yeah, but that's all, you know, you can use as an excuse if you want.
Okay, but you're making it up.
Not Warriors. Warriors don't do that.
It's always convenient and always amusing how you compartmentalize when it's a legitimate reason and when it's an excuse. And it seems to me it's as simple as if it's you
being
invoking
a good analyst, being a good football analyst.
No, it's when it's
there's lots of factors that go into these games.
Yeah, but the only ones that seem to matter to you are the factors that get in the way of your success.
No, that's not necessarily true.
It's not?
No, not at all. Is it? Look, every week is different, Dan.
How long
on any given Sunday, a different factor could pop up. That's why I do so well in prediction segments.
How long did it take you to get over your most recent hangover? Because when we last talked to you, man,
that's a good question.
You were flying. Yeah. You were out of hand.
I'm told I was on last week. I don't remember that.
You were. I can confirm. You were on something.
We'll never forget it.
Yeah.
About what I remember was the end of the court case, and then we started drinking.
Yeah, you were celebrating a victory that probably wasn't even a victory.
I still don't think you guys won.
What do you mean we didn't win? Of course we won.
There was a settlement or something.
I don't have to pay anybody anything.
Yeah, but it sounded like the judge laid out some pretty strict edict about...
I didn't have to sign any paperwork either.
Okay.
So how could I lose if I don't have to sign paperwork?
Do you remember anything about the rest of that night at all?
I think that part of the reason that we won was that I think the judge kind of thought I was, you know, a good-looking guy.
What? You think he was attracted
I think
to you?
that was a factor.
You think the judge... I mean, you're suggesting the judge was not objective because he wanted to make a run at you? I mean, what do you...
She wanted to make a run.
Oh, she, okay.
She.
Well, either way, doesn't matter. I mean, that's quite...
I mean, maybe a guy does. I'm not saying don't do that.
That's that's a very highly...
up to them.
That's a highly charged allegation.
Put that in there. Put that in.
What is it? What's going on here?
Nothing. So, yeah.
Wait a minute. Put what in where?
My brother did... What?
Put what in where? What just happened on the air? What did we listen to?
I don't know, Dan. What were you listening to?
Well, you just said somebody came in with something.
We were talking about the court case.
No, but somebody came in with something.
I'm talking my brother Randy.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
But, I mean, I don't think that's fair to the judge, male or female, to be honest. And it also strains credulity, with all due respect.
I don't know what you strain, Dan, but it's, you know, I'm just saying the judicial system worked great. It worked great.
Because the judge had a crush on Carl Gerbschmidt.
I'm not saying for sure.
Oh, my God.
But I got, you know, I'm pretty good at picking up on cues.
What was... Give me a cue or two that convinced you that this was part of the story. Did she wink at you?
Sustained all of our objections.
Oh, I see. Well, maybe she thought you guys made good objections.
I think she asked me about being a VIP owner. So I think she's a Packer fan, too.
Your delusions of grandeur are pretty remarkable.
What do you mean?
I don't know. I don't even know.
Are you ever going to get the site back going? You still got the big Packer Fan Connections red message.
Hang on. No, this one, I don't think it's going to work.
What are you doing?
We're trying to respect the segment here.
No, we expect. Well, first of all, I'm on a day earlier than I thought I was going to be. So I didn't.
That's out of respect to your team playing tonight.
How am I supposed to know? You guys aren't like the most thoughtful people in the world.
Well, I don't disagree with that.
By the way, your girlfriend, your producer girlfriend, she's trolling me on X. Wants to know when she's going to get our Christmas card from us.
Girlfriend, Lori Fisher?
That's not how it works. Okay,
she's a married woman.
Yeah.
She's not our girlfriend. Have some respect for her positioning.
Correct.
You're going to get yourself in trouble with your own government, the WisDOT department you work for.
At all.
Well, no, but I don't think it's a very good look.
You guys are the ones that found a way to do that.
Yeah, but it sounds like you're objectifying her.
Not at all.
Okay.
She's your lady friend. Is she a lady?
Yeah. Well, that's
Is
really.
she a friend?
She's a woman.
Then she's a lady.
She's
friend,
a woman.
Okay? She's your woman friend. Then.
But she is a friend.
It sounds like it's kind of like you sound like she's a woman.
It's not a woman friend. She's a friend, and she's also
I'm a little creeped out by that. Dan.
She's a colleague as well. So we work with her. She's a senior executive television producer.
Is that better than being a senior producer, Brett Blakemore?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
I'm gonna.
We love Brett, but yes.
No offense to Brett.
Lori's more accomplished
It's
than
good
Brett.
to see him at the game this week.
Yeah, he went on Thursday, right?
1265 something or other. He's one of the guys.
Lombardi guy, 1265
By the way,
Lombardi guy.
You know what else?
Yeah.
It just occurred to me. I'm reminded by one of our intrepid listeners. You got savaged by Pat Kessler yesterday afternoon between 5:30 and 6 o'clock.
Who is that again?
Pat Kessler, you know who he is. Don't pretend you don't know who he is. Hall of Fame winning.
Is he that sports guy?
No, he's a former reporter, political reporter.
Hall of Fame.
Hall of Fame, now retired.
Really?
Yes, and he destroyed you. He had good analytics on roadkill. What
is that?
What is going on in the background here? We're trying to do a show.
Oh, it's my K? Okay.
What?
Yeah, do that one. That's good. Put that in.
What's
that?
What's with the
I'm
Christmas?
sorry, I lost track of what you were saying. Something about some guy. I think people should respect this
I ain't
segment.
respecting the segment. Who
I
is
didn't expect to be on right now. We were having a meeting.
about
with the segment.
Christmas music choices? What is this?
Dan, I don't know. We don't need to talk about that right now.
Well, why not? I mean, if you're going
Let's talk about football. Let's talk about how I have two guarantees, okay?
before you get to the guarantee, the roadkill deal, basically Kessler reminded us that Minnesota is far more, I guess you could say, professional and orderly about dealing with roadkill issues, and that he spends a lot of time in Wisconsin and notices that it seems as if in Wisconsin they just make it up as they go along as it pertains to piled up roadkill.
Number one, that's just not true.
Mm-hmm. That's what he thought.
There's a plan. Every municipality has a plan as to how to clean up the roads in their area. And we at the Department of Transportation expect that those plans will be followed. And, sometimes townships and cities and little, whatever you call city, they don't, sometimes get a little extra roadkill in. And then at that time, should we have available personnel, we will assist in that. But that's not our job.
I'm just telling you, he had some pretty good, it looked to me like his research backed up his assertion.
He was so upset about why he just pick it up himself.
Well, yeah, there you should.
You're afraid to touch a dead deer?
Well,
I'm not afraid.
You don't touch it at all anymore. In your executive position,
I'm a supervisor.
You don't get near it.
I can send any people out there.
What's going on with the Christmas carols? Why are you screening songs? And now you're being secretive and defensive about it, which tells me there's a backstory here that we need to get to the bottom of.
I don't know. You don't need to get by.
I'm hearing another one.
Peanuts theme?
It's exactly. It's Charlie Brown
Hold on.
Christmas.
Dan, quiet for a second. You can't even sing along. Okay, this not gonna work.
You could.
All right.
That's a great sing-along song. Everybody knows the jingle.
What are you talking about?
We heard it.
You can sing along to it.
Why don't you just tell us?
All right, Dan, I'm not prepared to go down that road right now, okay?
What does that mean? That sounds so ominous. Now you're going to get people curious, even more curious, of whatever you're trying to hide. Stop hiding stuff.
I'm not hiding anything.
Yeah?
By the way, people have asked us, are we still at the Pack Interactive Ice Bowl exhibit? Are we still doing Christmas light show with some Hanukkah? Yes, we are. Starts this weekend. So you can come on up here. We have Christmas lights all over.
Oh, that's what the music
facility.
is. All right. Well, then why wouldn't you?
It's not.
Oh, it's not. So it must be something controversial. Are you ever going to tell us about it?
Not at all, Dan. No.
Okay. Do you have?
I'll let you know next week. How about I let you know next? I was gonna tell you tomorrow, but I'm not on tomorrow.
Do you have a lock of the week? Because we want to play the sounder.
Yeah, I got one.
All right, let's play the sounder, guys.
Carl Gerbschmidt's Lock of the Week.
Did I do one last week? 'Cause I don't remember doing one.
You did. You said, yes, you did. You said take the under on the Jets
game
in
was it?
Seattle.
Yeah, I don't remember. Did they was the under or the correct?
I don't know. I think that
I can't remember being interested in the Jets and Seattle game.
I don't even think
that
Carl.
went over.
You don't even remember the game. I don't believe.
I was busy last week. I had a lot on my mind.
Gerby Lock of the Week is the hashtag to use via Twitter once you get his Lock of the Week, and you will be automatically a part of an opportunity to win a pair of tickets to see the Vikings welcome Kirk Cousins back.
Game of the week in the
to
NFL.
the People's Stadium, the game.
Not the game of the week.
Easily. So many stories.
It's not even close to it.
What's your lock now that you're more sober?
Yeah, I'm so completely 100% sober.
Yeah.
I'm not going to start drinking until later on when the game comes on.
Mm-hmm.
I think that I was not very impressed with Arizona last week. I thought that they played really bad, and and to be honest, they hung close, but I thought they were pretty bad. And they're playing against Seattle, who I think is probably going to win that division. And it's in Arizona. I think that Arizona's got some issues, and I think Seattle will cover the 2.5 points.
Seattle will cover.
So
that is the Gerby Lock of the Week against Arizona.
Wait a minute. Wait, hold on.
You have the wrong
matchup? I think that's the back. I have that backwards.
Oh.
Yeah, I do. As a matter of fact, because Seattle's going to win the game. So it's Seattle plus 2.5. So I had it backwards. I was reading it. I don't have like a.
Well, what's happened to you? I mean, you don't even know what.
I have no idea what you just picked for your lock of the week.
So what's the lock of the week?
Seattle plus 2.5
over Arizona.
Over Arizona.
Okay.
Yeah.
Use the hashtag Gerby Lock of the Week if that wasn't confusing enough, and let us know what the lock
know
was.
How to do it.
And you can enter to win Vikings Cardinals tickets for Sunday.
Guardsy went and 1-2 last week, as did I. Gerby was 3-0, so we've got a little bit of a changing.
I'm catching up.
Guardsy leads Gerby by a game, leads me by 2, so it's tight.
This is a good one.
It's turned into a good one down the stretch, as it often does.
Yeah, this is going to work. Do this.
Let's start with the Sunday night game. The Kansas City Chiefs are hosting the Los Angeles Chargers of Anaheim. And the Chiefs, if this spread is right, are favored by 4.5 points. There's probably some trap aspect to this because sooner or later, the Chiefs are going to play a great game.
Yep.
But it's too many points for me right now. On the other hand, you could say, well, no, sooner or later they're actually going to lose. I like what Jim Harbaugh has done with the Chargers. They're not dominant by any stretch, but they hang.
They got bad uniforms.
They hang. He has completely remade a lot of what made the Chargers so overrated and so beatable. That just the old deal of not being able to make the tough plays and hang around in games. I'm going to take the Chargers and Jim Harbaugh to cover. Gerby, you're next.
I think that Kansas City has gotten very lucky But I also think they might be the best team in the AFC. But I also think that the Chargers are better than most people think. So
I'm
here's the
confused
kicker.
now. Yeah.
Chargers are 5-1 against the spread in the last 6 games. I'll take the Chargers.
Guardsy, what do you think?
They're 8-4. I mean, the Chargers.
Yeah,
that's why I always include them.
And we find out apparently your guy Kevin Warren was bored with Jim Harbaugh calling in January.
Yeah, we kind of knew.
Well, we kind of knew, but it was a new confirmation.
Yes,
it's come up again.
That Harbaugh was interested in it?
Yeah.
Why, did things not work out in Chicago? Is that what you're saying?
Not well, no. Not to this point.
I think this, though, is the game where the Chiefs unlock. This is risky for me. I could play it safe and just go with you guys.
Right.
But you know me.
How courageous.
I'm like PJ Fleck.
Yeah, there's no question.
I throw caution to the wind. Yeah. I'm going to say
bilingual.
The Chiefs and the Chargers play a way to muddy it up.
You realize we still have 2 conversations going on here. We're trying to do the show.
At least.
And
what are we doing? We're picking games, aren't we?
No, you're talking to your brother about more Christmas music, and it's disrespectful.
The Chiefs are going to cover the 4.5.
You don't like Christmas music? You don't like that Christmas music?
The Lions and Packers. That's tonight.
Wow.
Detroit at home, favored by 3.
And does not like Christmas music.
And a half over the Green Bay Packers. Let me make this as clear as I possibly can.
That's how he is.
The Lions will destroy the Green Bay Packers. It might be 14. It might be 17. It ain't going to be close. It's a good matchup. I get all of that. And I know Vikings fans want to see a tie or the Lions lose for all the obvious reasons, even though it's hard to root for the Packers. Lions, who have had their own close games lately, including last week, will have little trouble dispatching the Green Bay Packers. Carl?
You know how sick you are?
No?
Do you know how sick and twisted you are?
What's that got to do with the pick segment?
Plus, you don't like Christmas music.
Oh.
So that's what you want to happen. That's what you would rather not win the division than watch us win. That's how people in Minnesota are. People in Minnesota are sick.
They're twisted. Think they're vindictive?
And they're I don't know if that's. I think stupid is better than vindictive. That's what I would say.
Stupid?
I mean, why would you not want to win the division? I'm going to tell you my 2 guarantees right now. Number 1, the Minnesota is not going to win the division. That's a guarantee. 100% guarantee you are not going to win the division. Not going to happen.
Okay.
And second, we will finish ahead of Minnesota in the standings.
Come on,
Why don't you put your pants
man.
back on, Slappy? Okay, so we win tonight. Now Detroit loses the game. Now we're 1 game behind Detroit. We beat Minnesota. All of a sudden, boom. Guess what? We're ahead of Minnesota. And guess what? We go to the playoffs. We win the division. Minnesota has to go on the road. And I don't know who you have to get to play. I mean, what, like Tampa or Seattle
Maybe
or something
Atlanta.
like that. You're going to lose. And all this, you think you're just the greatest team in the world. That's a flat-out guarantee from me.
Are you picking the Packers to cover?
Of course. The Packers, we're going to win the game probably by 2 or 3 touchdowns. Do you see the injuries that Detroit has?
That's the issue.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. That's just a fact. It's not an excuse.
Sounds like it is an excuse, except for when you have it. Then
I'm
you
not
can use
using it
it.
as an excuse.
Then you can invoke it as an excuse. Guardsy, what do you think?
I've gone back and forth while the 2 of you were talking, and I think I agree with you. After hearing Gerby, the Lions are going to win tonight.
You want that to happen.
Cover. No, I don't.
You want that to happen.
I want the tie.
Yeah, you do. Don't lie.
But I think the Lions,
like
even though they're very injured, they have the
They're
injury
wounded.
card
They're
more
wounded.
than anybody.
More than anybody in the league.
It hasn't seemed to matter all that much, but I'm taking the
We're
Lions.
injured, too.
Not as injured, and your guy has some interception in him.
I don't like this song.
Lastly, not least, Vikings hosting the Atlanta Falcons at high
The only way we do
noon,
that is if it's Taylor's version.
right here on the Fan. 5.5 points. Did I get this game last week? I was 1-2. I don't even remember what I said last week.
You did not. You had the Vikings covering the 3.5 to the Cardinals.
I did have them covering.
They didn't do that, did
Do I double down on it this week? Because I feel kind of the same about it. Or do I consider the possibility that sooner or later a very streaky number 18 is going to play better because he almost has to play better? Atlanta will cover the Atlanta Falcons will cover against the Vikings on Sunday. Carl?
And they will win. So, because you've been so lucky. Is there a team in the league luckier than Minnesota?
Green Bay, probably.
Admit it. No. Admit how lucky you have been. Say, yes, Kyle, we have been pretty lucky this year. Say that.
No, we're not going to say that. We're not going to say that. You should be saying that about the Packers.
Randy Moss is a great player.
You're being a baby. Wham, wham, baby.
Oh, my God.
So you're going to lose, and the team's going to, and we'll finish ahead of you. And that's just, I told you at the beginning of the year, you just don't listen to me. It's like you just got your own little world. You should listen to the experts on your show.
Guardsy, what do you think?
The Vikings will jump out to a 24-3 lead. Michael Penix will enter the game in the fourth quarter and lead the Falcons to 2 fourth-quarter touchdowns. Vikings, let's see if I did this math right. 24-3. Penix comes in for 2 touchdowns.
So that would be 24-17, or do they go for 2?
They don't. The Vikings win 24-17 and cover.
And the Vikings cover.
And the Vikings cover.
That's a very specific prediction, and it might be true.
Write it down.
Who's to say?
Write that down.
I'll write it down.
What are you having
right here?
Are you watching on the flat screen at your crib or someplace else tonight?
What's that?
Nothing. You're too distracted anyway. It doesn't matter.
We still have.
Can you try to join us next week? It's 2 weeks in a row where you haven't really joined us.
I mean, it's proof that even whether you're drunk or sober, you're still capable of checking out. Last week you were drunk and checked out. This week you were sober and checked out. We got to go. We're done. We're done with him. That's enough. We've already went too long anyway. Bill Guerin in about 30 minutes. Bill Guerin. So some Minnesota Wild hockey conversation at the top of the hour.
Time now for the Vikings Report on The Fan, presented by Miller Lite. Vikings safety Cam Bynum joins Barrero next after this from Miller Lite.
Call back to our challenging conversation, the two of us, trying to figure out that if indeed the Lions and Packers tie tonight and the Vikings run the table, 2 significant ifs, but we're playing it out, the Vikings would then win the division. I thought the answer was obviously yes. You didn't want to believe me. And so I'm throwing you under the bus for then because the more you are going, well, wait a minute, though.
I just wanted to think about it.
And then I go, wait a minute, maybe I'm thinking of the losses wrong, whatever the case may be. And then we got into the discussion with Sean Salisbury, and while that conversation was taking place, we got this text from Andy in Cannon Falls. I don't think knowing that 15 is greater than 14 is even considered math. Which is a great point. It's not exactly trigonometry.
It's tough on the fly sometimes. It's not advanced
mathematics. But yeah, in that scenario, your favorite football team.
That's right.
Would win the division. Now, again, that means us running the table. That's not going to be very easy, right? We'll all agree. That's challenging. But it's possible.
It's not impossible.
In that scenario, we would finish 15-2, and the Lions would finish 14-2-1. So you don't even have to calculate percentages.
No.
If you have one extra victory, you have a better record.
Are we
right?
sure?
I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll see how that goes.
And there's only 5 games left. I do know that math.
It's almost it's pretty close to over.
It's not like you have to run the table for 2 months.
No.
You have to run the table for a month and change.
That's all it takes.
And it's the Falcons, the Bears.
You're favored, and you're going to be favored against the Bears.
At the Seahawks.
Will you be favored there? Probably not. I'm guessing we're going to be like 1.5-point underdogs there, or something like that.
It could be something weird.
Something strange.
Yeah.
I don't think we'll be favored in Seattle.
And then Green Bay here, we should be favored.
We'll be favored.
On the road against Detroit, probably underdog.
But, fine. We'll take it. We're not afraid of that.
Mm-hmm.
Unless they're out like 6 more starters, at which point maybe we would be favored.
Unless one of them's Jared Goff.
Very hard to say. Did you see the story about, once upon a time, I think there was great belief that in football, if you had a bye, potentially you had a bit of an advantage against the other team if they're playing for what would seem to be all the obvious reasons. And in fact, it was, largely true that for a number of years, if you could sort of, put up the math, that the study, for example, that I read went from 2002 to 2010. And the conclusion of this study, somebody probably got a PhD for it, was that if you had the week off, your bye week would be worth 2.2 points the next time you played.
Wow.
2.2 points, which can be a lot, right? Given all the close games we have in this league. But in 2011, a decision was made that apparently has changed everything in that regard. New CBA that made some changes to what teams could do with their week off. Under the old rules, teams would basically get extra practice time, right? Almost normal bye week, maybe a day off or something. But the new CBA that was signed in 2011 or took effect in 2011 had players required to be off at least 4 days. 4 days off. And interestingly, from 2012 to last year, researchers have found that the bye week edge went from, 2.2 points to a negligible 0.3 points.
Wow.
So the conclusion, I think, inescapable there is that whatever edge the bye week teams historically were getting, it wasn't the rest. It was more likely extra time to practice and therefore extra time to prepare for their next opponent. So will it hold up? Will it continue to hold up? I don't know. But I had not read this. I thought it was kind of interesting that whatever the intent of changing those rules were, those of us who just assumed that, we all like to think in the world of load management that allegedly it's done because, you'll be fresher. This indicates not really. It's you're actually better prepared because back in the old days, you still practiced 4 or 5 days, even without a game. And under the new rules, you can't practice 4 or 5 days like a normal week at all. Now, I don't know how they factored in injury issues and time,
right?
For injuries to heal in between the extra time. I don't know, but I thought that was pretty interesting. I was unaware of that study till I read it. This piece was in the Wall Street Journal.
The moral is practice matters, kids. Practice matters, even in the National Football League. Not even extra film,
especially in the preseason, when no one does anymore.
That's true, and then it's sloppy for like a month.
They practice, but they don't
play.
They don't play. Yeah.
But practice and preparation.
Yeah.
As Tim Brewster said, your preparation is so complete it allows you to feel exhilaration, and practice does matter. It sounds like because you have to imagine they're not now. Some teams did go to Cancun. Wasn't it the Giants that got in trouble on a bye week going?
I think that's true.
Somewhere, and then they ended up losing. But because that you would think they're getting the iPads loaded up or the Microsoft Surface tablets loaded up with film on potential teams that they're going to play.
Right.
They probably have an idea, this team's at home, we're going to see them or we're not as familiar with them, we're going to try to get ahead of it a little bit, but what matters most is getting out on the field and practicing it.
Practice makes perfect, someone once said. Was it Shakespeare?
I thought that was Allen Iverson.
Could have been Allen Iverson.
Big practice fan.
Right. Let's stay on schedule. Quick break here, a little bit more on this story, and then we've got some audio that we want to play from your guy. Big ticket. Kevin Garnett that got my attention. Garzi, I think, also enjoyed it. I think the listeners will as well. Generally speaking, define the term that KG is going to be talking about in this soundbite, old head. Is that a young kid's term?
I think
or is that actually an old term that old heads like referring to because they are old heads?
Yeah, I think it's an old school term that is now new school again.
Okay.
I think.
This is, his podcast with
Paul Pierce.
Ticket
in the Truth.
Is that what it's called?
Yes.
Good alliteration.
Yeah. And I feel like they just live together.
Well, they seem to.
Because every day something from their show pops up on our feeds.
And I don't even know if we hear Pierce in the soundbite. I think it's mainly KG.
Yep, a little Pierce.
A little Pierce as well. Let's listen.
So a long time ago, y'all don't know this. If I'm capping at any time, stop me, okay? Right. Stop me. Every other seat, old head. Matter of fact, it was probably 4, 5 old heads before it was some young guys. So old heads outranked and outnumbered the younger guy. 5 years later, that young guy was an old head. And you looked up, and there was more old heads. At some point, it started being less old heads, more younger guys. Now, 5-week puppy and a 2-week puppy are in the same room, managing, speaking, talking, leading. Ain't nobody taught nobody nothing. So what we are seeing is the disconnect from the older generation, the Jews you get from the old head, and then coming in here knowing how to actually be not only professional, but be an all-star. Know how to actually talk and deal with the all-star director to say, this one I'm doing and this one I'm not doing. And then managing your time. Because if not, the league will use you the whole day. Right. Hold on. I got to get some rest. I got to get some shots up. And then, 2, I got something I'm doing with my family. You got to honor that. Guess who teaches you how to do that, y'all?
The old head.
The old head.
Profound stuff from KG, and it's all true. I don't know if he was alluding to any specific team.
Yeah, I want to know what got that going.
To a certain extent, you could say, well, that's sort of what's happened with Anthony Edwards. He seems to be handling most of it well. There are some older heads on this team, but he's so right. It isn't. I don't even think he's necessarily assigning blame to the youngsters. I think he's saying, I'm not surprised if they don't know what to do sometimes or how to act, because there is so much more youth than there has ever been before, that it can't be all that surprising that many of them aren't ready, or many of them don't know when to say no when there are extra demands, or don't know what the right thing to say is. When KG came here, I can still remember one of the few one-on-one conversations I ever had with him. I remember him talking about when he came to this team and the early nightmare that the Minnesota Timberwolves were.
Very dysfunctional.
Isaiah Jr., Jay Ryder, Christian Laettner. There were a lot of others that I'm forgetting. And he did say to me on that occasion that there are a couple times where, who knows, Ryder is yelling at Bill Blair, or stuff that's just utterly ridiculous and dysfunctional, where he kind of is looking for old head help, that he said, every once in a while I look around and I go, is this the league? Is this really what I've been dreaming of my whole life? Is this the league really? And fortunately, the Wolves, Kevin McHale, and Flip Saunders figured out, if we're going to take this kid, we do have to give him some old head help. And probably top of that list was Sam Mitchell, right? Yep. Sam Mitchell was an old head. Sam Mitchell was an old head when he was young.
That's true.
To a large extent.
He's looked the same for the last 50 years.
That's true. It's remarkable. So I don't know what you do with it. I just thought it was an interesting evaluation, and I don't think it's a back in my day thing. I think it is to the extent that he's comparing eras. But again, I don't think he's necessarily ripping the youngsters. I think he's saying we shouldn't be surprised if a lot of them get overwhelmed, or they don't know what the right thing to say is, or the right thing to do is, because it seems as if a lot of teams have just given up the ghost of the whole old head concept and said we're all going to be young together and we're all going to figure this thing out together.
It's good to translate to other occupations as well.
And
other companies as well.
You're right.
And young people are good for the energy and the new ideas and looking at a different way.
Not all old heads are created equal.
Correct.
Some of them are even more destructive than some of the young heads.
No question, Dan.
You got to get the right old heads. And that's exactly, I don't know how many times we've been told over the years, going way back from KG, how much he appreciated the guidance and the help that he got from Sam Mitchell, right? Mitchell was very much at the top of the list. And that's part of the reason to this day that I think they've got a really good relationship, even if they don't talk that much, because Garnett valued exactly what he got, especially after walking in to just a circus, just a basketball madhouse when he first got here.
I don't know if we played this KG thing, but I think we might have talked about it off the air. There was a time when KG then became the old head after he got into it with, I think, Dwight Howard, your guy.
Oh, yeah, that's right, yeah.
And Paul Pierce was the one that basically had to say, all these guys look up to you. And he said it changed his whole perspective on.
Yeah, good
now,
point.
he said
You're
he
right.
wanted to beat him because he was KG.
Right.
But he didn't have the same edge with those guys because they were all looking for the old head. KG didn't realize he was the old head.
He was the old head.
And then he had to bring the hand back down to help those guys up, and did eventually, which I thought that was also kind of a cool soundbite.
Extremely so. You're right. We did talk about that. Top of the hour break. No top 5 at 5 today because Wild General Manager Bill Guerin.
Good enough, Fallness?
Is scheduled to. Well, you saw what he did yesterday. He ignored the first hour of the show, as I predicted, and then he ripped the top 5 at 5 for you wedging in like 30 seconds of hockey.
Well, it's going to be all hockey for the next 30 minutes.
Well, maybe I do get. Can I get Guerin going, asking him some basketball questions?
You probably could.
No, he's eclectic enough. He'd probably be fine with it.